Good morning, class, the receiving students and teachers.
Good morning, Mrs. Watakas.
How are you all this morning?
We are very well, thank you. And how are you this morning?
I'm very well, just like you. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, our subject, making a living for grade 7s. We're still using the same resources, receiving school teachers. There are 3 of them. Home Economics for Papua New Guinea Book 1, Making a Living, Teacher's Guide, and the syllabus. We are still on the same strand and sub-strand. Class together, what is the strand? Better living. And the sub-strand? Making things. That's our topic, class. I'd like you all to read it for us. Reflection on project process. Let's have a look at reflection. Reflection on project process. Now, let's have a look at the word reflection and what it means. Okay, our vocabulary is reflection. And what is the definition or the meaning? I'd like the class to read it for us.
Thinking about and talking over past events.
Okay, thinking about and talking over past events. Now, what will we be thinking about and talking over? What will we be thinking about and talking over? Violet, what will we be thinking about and talking over? Now, this is talking about past events. So,
Pillowcase.
thank you. The project, which is the pillowcase, the making of it or the sewing of the project, that is the pillowcase. Now, I'd like us to all, we have now we are going to think about and talk over what we have done in the process in sewing the pillowcase. Now I have the pillowcase circled, and we are all going to contribute to what has happened or what we have done in the whole process. Now, for example, I can say pillowcase. Okay, pillowcase sewing. That's one example, pillowcase. We did sewing. Anything else? Justin, I saw your hand. Drafting, good, drafting. Okay, Justin says drafting. Good. Sewing, drafting. What else? Tassie?
Cutting.
Cutting. Good. Cutting. How about the girls? We seem to be having boys. Let's have Tassie. Sorry. Quarry. Quarry. I'll have Patricia after quarry.
Measuring.
Measuring. Good. Measuring. Measuring. Patricia.
Cutting off the pattern. Cutting off the pattern.
Pattern. Okay, pattern has something to do with pillowcase. Thank you. Elisa, can we have one from you? Everything that has to do with the pillowcase that we have sewn.
Stitches.
Stitches, good. Stitches. Nanadai?
Taking. Taking.
Tacking. Mhm. Trisha, one from you, please. Let's have two more. We have one, we have space there for one more.
Folding.
Folding, good. Now there are many, many more that we can think of that has to do with pillowcase. But let's have the last one. We have enough space for last one, and we'll have Edward.
Cutting.
Cutting. We have cutting there. Anything that has to do with pillowcase, we have gone through. Do you want to try, or we'll have your neighbor to help you? Okay, Paul, you help Edward. There's so many things that we did that is all around this thing, pillowcase. Do you want to try a Paul? Okay, let's pass it to Gima. Gima, if you can come up with the last one.
Turn the pillowcase inside out.
Okay. The pillowcase. Did you say inside out or outside out? Inside out. Okay, good. Now, I'd like us to have a look at this quickly. Now, the word we are looking at is pillowcase. And pillowcase is actually the project that we have worked on. And in making this pillowcase, there were so many things that we have done. And here we have some of them. We have sewing, measuring, folding, patterns, and there are many more. Okay, so looking at these words we have that should help us in the activity that we will be doing in this lesson. Now, what to reflect on? What to reflect on? What to think about and talk over? I'd like groups 1 and 2 to read for us the first one. Again, please. Group 3 and 4, the second thing to reflect on. 5 and 6, the third one.
Drafting the pillowcase pattern.
And 7.
To
Now these are not all, but some of the things that you should be reflecting on. Not all, just some of them that you should be reflecting on. Now we have homework for us to do. I will give you enough time to the class, the receiving school students, to get that homework copied quickly into your book. Probably we just have one person from each group. The recorder, if you can write down that homework for all your friends in your group. One, it says write the reasons for 1, drafting the pattern. 2, having flap on pillowcase, and 3, blanket stitching raw edges. Okay, if I can have all of us here looking this way. Now I'd like us to have a look at the homework once again. If I can have groups 3 and 4 to read for us what it says in white. What it says in white. 3 and 4, read it for us. Okay, it says write the reasons for. For homework, you are going to write down the reasons why we draft patterns, 1, why pillowcase has flap, and why we do or we blanket stitch raw edges. So that is your homework. We will be checking on your answers in the next lesson. Now let's have a look at the activities for this lesson. I'd like the group to read that together. Sorry, the class.
In groups, discuss and write the correct sequence for the actual process in sewing the pillowcase.
Now, when you look at that, it says the actual process in sewing the pillowcase. Now, when we are talking about the actual process, you disregard whatever happened that has probably something we did on naming of tools and the uses, the introduction to the subject, making a living. Now, all those you disregard, and you only look at the actual process that started, the actual process on the project, which is the pillowcase. Now, to help you, I have what you should begin with and what you should end with. So, what are you going to begin with, class? Okay, that is drafting the pattern. You begin with that process and you continue from drafting the pattern all the way to ending with what?
10 pillowcase outside out.
Okay, 10, the completed pillowcase outside out. You're all given 10 minutes to work on that activity. Now, I'd like groups 1 and 2, you are presenting your group work. So you try to work quickly on what you have to and get yourselves prepared for that. and then what? You write project process. That's your heading. Project process, and then what you have, you write it down. So which one is it? This one here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Instead of having all this, here you just said draft the paper pattern. Okay. Leave all these ones out. What next? After you drafted the paper pattern, what did you do? After you drafted the paper pattern, what did you do? Cut the pillowcase, okay? So that is how you write out. Instead of writing down everything that you did to draft the paper pattern, you just write draft the paper pattern. Then, like Jennifer has said, cut the pillowcase. Then, what next? Okay? Can I see your draft work? Okay. Instead of making it long like this, okay, one, draft the paper pattern. Okay? Then two, now here you are going in more detail. So what you do, you write draft the main points. Draft the paper pattern. Two, what did you do after you draft the paper pattern? Don't write every little thing you did in drafting the pattern. After you draft the paper pattern, what did you do? Okay, pin, huh? Okay, leave the word pin and cut the fabric. So you say cut the pillowcase. Okay? So first one is draft the paper pattern to cut the pillowcase. You don't have to go to what you did in drafting the pattern. You don't have to go right through in what you did in one. So after you have cut the pillowcase, what was the next step? What was turn the pillowcase inside out. And what did you do after you marking seam allowance, all that? The actual sewing of the pillowcase. So when you come to the actual sewing of the pillowcase, you're going to write down the steps in sewing the pillowcase. So you have draft the paper pattern, two, cut the pillowcase, three. What was the first thing we did in, especially with the stitches in the pillowcase? Not back stitch. What was slip hem? So you say draft the pattern, okay, and cut the pillowcase. 2, 3. You say slip hem the opening of the pillowcase. The next one, what happened after slip hemming?
You see backstitch the
Okay, so you just write backstitch the sides, and next, once you backstitch the sides, what's next? Blanket stitch the raw edges. Pillowcase completed. See, here we are trying to get the main points. Okay. Now you two are what presenting. That's why I want you to get your stand quickly. Okay, draft the pattern. You got the draft one there. You made a draft one. Okay. Where's yours? Let's see. Did you make a draft? Draft meaning rough one, rough project process. Start working on that. Sorry, George. That's okay. Have you made a draft? Have you made a draft as a class? Draft meaning rough one, rough copy. And then after that, you make it copy. tried it already. Okay, you'll have to do that now. Okay, a draft meaning you supposed to talk together because it says discuss. You discuss and the steps that you come up with, okay, the process you come up with, somebody, the recorder writes it, just rough one, that's the draft. And then that rough one, you write it properly onto the paper. So you're discussing together. Okay, let's see. Instead of writing detail, okay, you are right. This is good. You are making detail, but you can just have first step. We begin with draft the pattern. Did I write anything besides draft the pattern? As example, what you have just seen. Was there anything besides draft the pattern that I had? What did I have? No. Then the pillowcase, outside out is to end with it. So, see, you only have draft the pattern. Now, what comes after drafting the pattern? What did you do after drafting the pattern? You don't have to talk about what you did to draft the pattern. So what should be after drafting the pattern? What did you do? Somebody else? After you draft the pattern, the actual pillowcase. See? So you have one, draft the pattern, cut the pillowcase. And then 3, what next? Okay? Yeah? You are cutting the pillowcase using the, you are cutting the actual pillowcase using the pattern. So here you write, cut the pillowcase using the pattern. And then you go to the third one. You don't have to write down what you did in cutting the pinning and all that. You leave it out. Okay, let's see yours. Draft the pattern. Okay, just say draft the pattern on paper. Okay, now instead of saying after drafting the place, okay, leave this all out. This is what you actually did in drafting. So 1 is draft the pattern. What should be number 2? After you draft the pattern, what was the next thing? No, I'm asking you. Harold, what did you do after drafting the pattern? Yeah. Now, drafting the pattern, you don't have to talk about, you see, the example I have, not example, but I wrote what to begin with. I said draft the pattern. Did I say anything besides drafting the pattern? No. So here we are just trying to write the main points. Okay? Here you are writing it in detail. Here we want to write the main points. So draft the pattern. What was the next thing? Cut out. Okay, drafting the pattern. Cutting is all here under drafting the pattern. What after drafting and cutting? The main point, main thing we did. Yeah, okay. Cut the pillowcase using the pattern. 10 completed. 10 completed pillowcase. Okay, that's okay. You can just do this. Okay, and then write 10 completed. Okay, just put a clean
10 completed.
pillowcase. Yeah. Now we are all supposed to be discussing as a group of the project process. Have the recorder to record the rough one, and after you have done that, you write it neatly onto this sheet of paper. Where turn complete pillowcase outside out. Or you can say the right way. And that's it, finish. You don't have to go to the next because that is where we stopped. Huh? We didn't go to other what. We haven't gone to the other what yet, so you finish there. Okay, you have to have somebody from your group ready for presentation. Who is the reporter? Let's have some. We are always having Justin, Shane, Quarry, Shane. So you look for somebody.
Making bed
Let me see the draft you have. Okay, if groups 1 and 2 are ready, groups 1 and 2 will be presenting the project process. Now the rest, groups 3 to 7, I will be collecting in all your group work that you are working on. We'll only have groups 1 and 2 to present this, but the rest I will be collecting in all your work that you are doing together in your groups. So if I can have a group 1 reporter to report to the rest of the class. Our time for discussion is over. We are supposed to be writing, the recorder to write. Okay, we have Gima from group 1. We'll come to this side. Okay, you stand on this side. You use the what? Point to the steps and then you talk about it. Maybe too long. Okay, if I can have every one of us looking, and we have Gima from group 1 to present to us the project process that group 1 has worked on.
The first step, we begin with drafting the pattern, cut the pillowcase, turn the pillowcase inside out, slip hem the opening of the pillowcase, backstitch the sides of the pillowcase, blanket stitch the raw edges.
Look at the camera, 7.
10 completed pillowcase the right way. Finished product.
Very good, thank you. Let's all give a hand to Gima and her friends from group 1. Now, if you look at group 1's work, they actually looked at the main points, only the main points or the main idea. Now, in drafting the pattern, there are many things that we had to do in drafting the pattern. Just like cutting the pillowcase, there were also other things that we did. But here, group 1, they only have the main points. Okay, if group 2 is ready, we will have the reporter from group 2 to report to us what they have. You get the pointer. When you are talking, make sure you look at the camera. Okay, yeah, we use the pointer. Okay, we have Paul from group 2 to present to us their group's work on the project process.
Number 1,
Okay.
draft the paper pattern. Number 2, cut the pillowcase. Number 3, turn the fabric inside out and fold the flap 17 centimeter. Number 4, double fold the fabric 2 centimeter and sew using slip hemming. Number 5, back stitch the raw edge. Number 6, blanket stitch the raw edge. Number 7, turn the pillowcase outside out.
Outside out. Very good. Thank you, Paul. Let's all give Paul and his friends from group 2 another hand too. Okay, thanks very much. So once again, if you look carefully, the rest of the class, the students from the receiving schools and teachers, the 2 samples we have, actually, from the 2 groups, they are only showing the main points, because to write them in detail, it takes a long time. So receiving school teachers encourage your students to only think of the main points or the main ideas and write those ones down. Okay. Now, so this is actually showing us that we can still think of or remember the steps that we have gone through in sewing the pillowcase. Okay, anybody who can guess for us what you think our next lesson is going to be? Our next lesson. Hayano, what do you think our next lesson is going to be?
Reflection on project procedures.
Okay, Hayano is already going to our key phrase. Question is, what do you think our next lesson is going to be on? Okay, now our next lesson is going to be on Quarry. Quarry wants to try. Quarry wants to try.
School organizations.
Okay. Sorry, that was a mistake. Okay, sorry. Our next lesson is going to be on problems and possible solutions. Okay? Problems and possible solutions. So next lesson is going to be on problems that we have faced while sewing the pillowcase and how we can all help to solve those problems. Now our key phrase, anybody who can guess what the key phrase is going to be? Key phrase, Carl.
Reflecting on project process.
Very good. Our key phrase is on reflection of the project process. Okay, and with that, good morning class, the students of the receiving schools and teachers.